What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. So in today's video, we're going to be talking about step-by-step instructions on how to do sky replacements. I know there's a lot of ways to do this with artificial intelligence where you can just like click a couple buttons in Photoshop, in Luminar. I've tried those. They're cool, they're fast, they're, nice to have if you need it, but I thought it'd be good to show you guys the way that I like to do them. And I'm going to get into some things that help keep it looking natural that you might not have thought of. So if you're into content like this and want to see more in the future, make sure to subscribe to the channel real quick before we jump into the video. So if you're new to this industry, you might be wondering, why would you ever need to replace the sky? Why wouldn't you just leave it looking how it looks? Because that's realistic marketing. Really the reason is because a lot of times with real estate and architectural type of photography, you're dealing with certain days that the property's available, the realtor's schedule, the architect, interior designer's schedule. There's homeowners who have to leave, and you kind of have to make it work. And sometimes being flexible and being able to do some creative stuff to make it work is really beneficial for your client, and it's going to save them time and money, and at the end of the day, that's really what it's all about. And a bonus for learning this is that any type of photos that you're doing, if you want to change the sky out, you can use these methods for any type of photography. A lot of times I'll just do this to make photos a little bit more interesting. You can use like clouds and stuff to where it draws emphasis on your subjects, cool landscapes, or whatever that might be. So I'm going to show you guys step by step how I like to do sky replacements in a way that keeps it looking really natural. It's not going to be all fake and like CGI looking or anything like that, and you probably won't even notice that it's a fake sky. Alright guys, so there's a few things that we're going to do in Lightroom before we get into Photoshop that are going to make your images look natural, and they're going to kind of prepare them for the sky replacement. We're going to do a few things that are going to make it a little bit easier and faster. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and merge our HDR photos. So even though we don't really need it on these photos, I like to do it anyways just to have extra editing room. Okay. We're going to go ahead and do that one. We're going to go ahead and do this one. If there's a lot of wind or something, you can click high right here, and that will kind of compensate for that and get rid of some of those like double trees and like branches and stuff like that that move while you're taking these pictures. So as far as the settings go, this one was shot at ISO 100, f8, and you got to just change your exposure with your shutter speed. Okay, so it stacked these images, and so now we've got these examples. As you can see, it was a nice cloudy day, so we got to change these skies out. Drones are super easy, but I figured this would be a good example to throw in there also. So I'm going to start out with my exterior HDR daylight preset, and I'm going to fix the exposure a little bit. Okay. You can see a little bit of blue in the sky, but since we're going to be replacing it, I'm going to go ahead and turn up those highlights to where it blows it out a little bit more. What you really want is a pretty clean difference between like the edge of the house or the tree branches and the sky. So since we made it a little brighter, that really helps. Okay, make sure we're doing this. Lens correction was already on from my preset. So then we're going to go and copy that to the next one. See how that turns out. Okay. We want it to be nice and contrasty. We want it to pop. We want the white balance to be looking like it's shot in daylight. It should work really well with these skies that we're going to add in. Okay. And this backyard one, just because it's a little different. Okay, and then the drone one, let's see what this looks like. That looks pretty solid, copied over. I've got drone presets also. Let's see where they are. These are set up to work with different types of lighting conditions. So we've got like high contrast, low contrast. Shadow side compensates for a lot of like blue shadows that are cast on the house, whatever. And then like sunset also. So that's before and after. I'm gonna go ahead and make that sky a little bit more standing out. It's not too bad, but you know, the goal is to make sure you can see the house. A little bit of pop, not too crazy, but there we go. All right, so we've got the exposure and the white balance fixed. So now what we're gonna do is go in and fix the verticals, because these are shot kind of like pointing up a little bit at the house. So we're gonna wanna fix that. This will just make sure it looks really nice and architecturally, structurally sound. It doesn't look like the house is tilted or anything weird like that. Nobody's gonna be thinking that something's wrong with it. Okay. Sometimes I'll leave it to where it's pointing up a little bit just because that makes it look a little bit more impressive, like you're looking up to something. But this is pretty good. With this one, I shot it a little bit further away because I wanted to show this sidewalk, because that's a good selling feature. Not every neighborhood has that. This one was a little crooked, but no worries, no worries. Probably was just in a hurry when I shot this. There we go. No big deal. Yeah, and like this one I think I'm gonna leave it to where it's a little bit tilted. Because like if you do this, it starts to look weird sometimes. Like just a little bit unnatural. A little bit too perfect sometimes. So I'm just gonna crop it in a little bit. Crop it in a little bit. A lot of times I'll shoot wide on purpose, a little bit wider than I want it to be, because I know whenever I make these adjustments on the verticals, it's gonna change the crop a little bit, so it's always safe to have a little bit of extra room. Crop in a little bit. Okay, on this one, probably not, because it's showing the whole backyard. So for these, I'm usually just looking at this like most centered vertical line, and I fix it based on that, and then see how that looks compared to the other vertical lines. So like on this side, they were a little bit off still, but yeah, looks natural, nice. Okay. Most of the time it's good to fix the horizon line, just because like you don't really need to, but it makes your whole set of images just kind of lay out a lot nicer. Like see all of these, they all have straight verticals and straight horizontals, so it just looks nice as a set. Alright, so that's it for the Lightroom adjustments. Pretty quick and easy, especially with those presets, and now I'm going to just jump them over into a folder where I can pull them up in Photoshop in just a sec. Alright, I know some of you guys will probably ask, so here is my preset for exporting. I know this is a little bit on the higher resolution side for real estate stuff, but I found that it's just nice to send them the best quality that they're going to need if they use it for brochures or anything like that. That way you're not having to go back and forth ever. You can just send it, they're good to go, you can move on with your life. So 4500 pixels, resolution 300 pixels per inch. I usually just put their name and then the address on the title of the file, and then we're going to go ahead and export it. The first thing we're going to do is create a duplicate layer, because basically we're going to sandwich the photo of the sky in between this layer and then the normal layer that's unedited. And then just so you guys can see, I'm going to go through my sky replacement layers that I just have and pick one that works. I know some of these are kind of weird, but sometimes they work, sometimes they work. So This one pretty much works for any photo. So I'm gonna go ahead and throw this one on there. Okay. So that, I'm just gonna put it up here. Doesn't really matter where it is. You'll see why later. But sky. So I'm just gonna have that in between this background layer, sky, and then the top layer. Okay. So now we're gonna go into the top layer and we're gonna click our polygonal lasso tool. You can just click L if you want to. And we're going to trace out basically like a stencil of where the sky needs to be replaced. So I'm gonna go in, and it doesn't have to be perfect because we made it to where the sky is basically white. So it's gonna be okay if it's not perfect. And we're gonna go, I'm gonna zoom in a little bit. You can do Option and then scroll on your mouse. That's what I'm doing to zoom. Super quick. Scroll up to move around. Again, doesn't have to be perfect because we're gonna select all the white basically out of that area. If you're gonna get into a lot more detail, you can just use the pen tool because it's actually a little bit better for tons of points, but this one does just fine. All right, we're gonna zoom back out and we're gonna connect it up there. So we've got it all selected up there. I'm actually gonna go in and might pick up some of this tree, so I'm gonna go ahead and unselect that. You can click the Option button and then click, and that will unselect it. So now what we're gonna do is we're just gonna do select color range, okay? And then we're just gonna use our dropper, hold Shift, and we're just gonna click kind of a bunch of points on the sky. So usually there's gonna be more clouds and some blue compared to this picture. So you just wanna make sure that you click all the stuff to where on this little preview right here, it's gonna have the whole sky selected, okay? And I know it looks like it's selecting the house, but since we did this little stencil mask, whatever you wanna call it, beforehand, it's only gonna select those colors from the sky area. And you can do this to make it a little bit more wide range of colors, but basically all you just need to do is you need to click Shift, hold it down, click all the different colors in the sky until it fills it in on this little preview. I'm gonna click OK. You can see it's all selected. And then this is where some people might have issues, but I've done it this way for a long time and it just is fast for me, so I just click Delete. Boom, sky's gone. And as you can see, the edges, it's pretty clean. It picked it up a little bit right there on top of the house, and that's pretty much it. All these lines on the house that we shot are super clean, looks like. All right, this is where you can have a little bit more control than using like an AI program. Basically, you can just move this to where it looks the most natural in your picture. That's pretty good right there. Make it a little bit bigger. It helps to have clouds in your picture because there's not a ton of shadows on the house or from the trees or anything, so it looks the most natural compared to how the lighting actually looks on the house. So keep that in mind when you're getting your sky replacement photos. All right, so that looks pretty good, but some of the edges are still a little choppy. Like you can see up here, it's a little bit fake looking. So what I like to do is I'll go in and turn up my brightness a little bit. Okay, so we got the brightness up a little bit, and now I'm gonna go in with my eraser, and here's what my brush settings look like. You want it to be pretty big and pretty subtle, so it's nice and natural looking. So, I learned this from painting, but whenever you look at the sky, as you can see in this one, like the further away it is, the more atmosphere shows up in the picture. So the more it's like wider, kind of hazy. So what I like to do, sometimes whenever you put these skies on there, it doesn't look really natural. This is pretty good, but if you take your brush and just do a little subtle line right there on the sky layer, so it makes it a little softer and it makes it just look real. And also having that little white, hazy, kind of glowy effect behind the house makes the house stand out a little bit more too. So sometimes these can actually show up a little bit better than real skies. So I'm gonna go ahead and up the saturation just a little bit because that'd be nice if it's a little bit more colorful. And that's it. Let me know if you guys think this looks natural. But so then basically all you're gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and select the sky layer, copy it, and then I'm going to go ahead and flatten this image and save it. So that one's done. Now I'm gonna move on to the next one. Okay. Same thing. I'm gonna copy the background layer and then I'm gonna add that sky that I copied into here so that they can be matchy. But don't just leave it exactly the same, okay? I'm gonna move it over. So this one was to the right a little bit, centered on the house. So what I'm gonna do, clouds were like here on the other one, so I'm gonna move it over to where they kind of just fall in a natural place and compared to the other image. That's the number one sign that someone has done fake skies, is if you're scrolling through a listing and all the skies never move from image to image. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and do it real quick in real time for you guys without talking. You could probably use the quick object select tool, but I just like to do this. Gives you a little bit more manual control. Okay, select color range once again, and it's already selected from the last one. So I'm just gonna do a couple more just to make sure we're good. Delete it. And I'm gonna delete this one little leaf. These ones up here too. It got a little bit weird looking. And it's good to go. So same thing. I'm gonna go ahead and save that one. Still got the sky copied on my clipboard. And now we're gonna do this one. Some of those darker clouds, you can use the eraser. All right, pretty good. So we're just gonna flatten that again, save it, boom. Okay, now drone shots are totally different. They're super easy, but you do have to make sure you're mindful about the whole atmosphere thing. So a lot of times you can just use your rectangle selector, so you can click M, cut into the horizon line just a little bit, and then select color range. It's pretty much all white. Drones get a little bit less dynamic range than my HDR ground photos. All right, just delete that. And then I gotta find a sky real quick. I forgot to put that in there. So I've got drone shots too. Super easy. So this one doesn't match the other one, but it's still a pretty good one for this shot, I think. There we go. Okay, so see, like right away that looks really fake. In this whole area, it's like it's blue and then suddenly it's like a different color blue. It's like weirdly highlighty looking. It looks like a bad painting or something. So what I'm going to do is go in and change the hue a little bit to where it matches the real sky a little bit better. That's okay. It's not my favorite, but it's not bad. Once again, we're going to make it nice and soft and subtle. Put my brush at pretty big, and then opacity and flow are down pretty low. So we're on the sky layer now, and we're just going to go ahead and take out a little bit. Okay, I'll make it a little bit bigger. Okay, this one, it's just a little bit too deep, so I'm going to go in and make it brighter. Also, you can change the opacity. That helps too, blend it in. Alright, I would buy that if I saw it, so I'm going to go ahead and flatten that, save it. Alright, so now we're done. The biggest thing I could say is make sure once you're done editing a whole set of photos, you scroll through it as if you're viewing it on MLS or wherever someone's going to look at it, and make sure you didn't accidentally leave all the skies in the exact same spot. Make sure that they kind of look consistent and look nice as a set. Alright guys, I hope that was helpful. That's about it for this video. Let me know if you guys have any questions or comments, if any of that didn't make sense. I know it's a little bit of a weird way to do it. I know there's all those programs that make it a lot faster, or at least seem a lot faster, and depending on where you're at and what type of editing you like to do, maybe that works better for you. Go for it. If you liked how the photos looked, I actually have presets for HDR, for off-camera flash, for interiors, exteriors, drone shots, all that stuff. And I'm going to link all my gear below in case you need to know what gear to get. So if you need some presets to help you speed up your editing even more, check out the link in description. It's not too much money for how many presets come with it, and it should save you some time, especially if you're just getting started. So anyways, that's all for this one. If you liked the video, make sure to hit the like button. Make sure to subscribe if you're into content like this, so that you will be up to date whenever new stuff comes out. And thanks so much for being here, and I hope to see you guys in the next one. Peace.